Hi, can we hear me? Alright, there we go. Much better. It's better when I'm not on mute. Hey everybody, how you guys doing? Ah, this is our first test, and we can actually see and hear each other, which didn't go so well last time. Sorry? Unfortunately, no. Only I can see the chat. I know, eh? It's not really made too well for that. I can see everybody, and so for everybody who's watching right now, we're actually doing this on two platforms. So obviously we're doing this on the regular Twitch, but we're actually also streaming right now on YouTube. So you should be seeing the exact same thing in both places. There's also a couple more options of a couple different places, but right now that's the only two we're doing. Apparently they cannot hear you, Dina. I need to figure why. I know. Why are you not being heard? And I need to get that fixed ASAP. Alright, give me a second. Uh, can't hear Dina. Yes. Thank you, Davixon. Oh, there we go. Can you
Can you
guys
hear
can you guys hear
can you
Dina
guys
now?
hear me? Can you hear me? No? Nobody can hear me?
I don't know. Nobody's saying anything. They're unusually quiet.
There
Oh,
you go. Okay.
okay, perfect. So I found the setting that was in there. I'm figuring out the technology, which makes me think I need to check out one more of them too.
Oh yeah,
Make
because
sure.
if you play the video, can they hear the video?
Exactly. So
Exactly.
one of the
So
big
one of the
yeah. So one of the big things is that we want to be able to not only just see and hear us, and also make sure you guys want to be able to see and hear the other stuff once we get it across. Alright, so hello everybody. Um, so we're probably going to go over a couple of things. Again, big
Yeah.
thing we're testing out is the live, both on Twitch as well as YouTube. So if anybody wants to take a peek in there and say hello, that'd be awesome. As well as we're going to go over, I guess, a couple of things some people may have some questions on. And quite though, I'll see what I can do to turn up my volume, or maybe I'll just stop sounding just terrible and start speaking up like an adult. Might be a better choice of mine. Um, so as well as we'll see if we can take in a couple of questions from you guys.
Okay. They're still saying you're quiet versus the guest.
Yes, well, the guest is you, and
I know.
I think they're just saying that you're just loud. I think is what
I
they're
am a
saying.
loud person.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can try to balance you and me out a bit based on
Okay.
what I can see. Um, hopefully this helps a little bit. We're gonna get to all those kinds of questions in a bit for sure. So I guess one of the things people want to know is how was last Saturday for you?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll talk about the heckling part. So it's not something I normally do. And I didn't even know how I was going to react when I got there, but I felt heckling was what I needed to do at that point because they heckle. All they do is heckle, and they think it's okay to take up a space and be loud. And so, I felt that I should do the same thing. And it's interesting how they reacted to it. Um, um, I don't quite like it. Although when I did watch the video back, I laughed a lot, and I even made myself laugh. It was pretty funny. And the chat was on fire. Like I listened to your stream the
Mhm.
next day, and yeah, smoke a joint and then watch when, when I giggled like a 12-year-old girl. The chat when the two
I've heard a lot of people comment that
sweetest
smoking a
guys
joint being watched before watching my live streams is a good thing. So
it was so funny. It was really funny. Like I was crying laughing at the chats that were coming up when the two guys took you off in their little spit. Like all the chat all the time is funny, and in my thing too, it's super funny.
I
But
was yeah I didn't get I unfortunately wasn't able to appreciate the chat as much. Um, but I know it was gold, especially since I was there listening to these two interesting gentlemen um,
So funny.
discuss. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to cue
The
that
best
stuff up.
part was when you asked them a question, you said, who? And they said, look it up, you will find it, do your own research, because they didn't have an answer. Like you backed them into a corner.
Oh, I know, and
And I'm
if I
like,
remember correctly, and it's so so for those who are aware, like Saturday when I was doing a lot of recording, we had the two main events, which was I can't remember what the name of the first one was, but that was the anti-vax movement that was protesting the CBC for being fake
CBC, yeah.
media, et cetera, et cetera. Insert your talking point there. Then we followed up with a second one, which was just free the children from whatever. That
Yeah.
was on Parliament Hill.
From
Yeah,
whatever.
until we got to actually what I thought was much more interesting protest, which was Sri Lanka and as well as the
Iran.
Iranian women's
Yeah.
protest.
The Sri Lankan one was a women's protest, by the way, too. I
Oh, was
noticed
it?
somebody had posted something about the Sri Lankan thing about government overreach. That is not what it was about. It was actually they were protesting on behalf of women because women were the most impacted during the COVID-19 pandemic,
Okay.
as well as other things women related. It is on my live. I didn't look back at it, but I asked them and they explained what it was about.
Oh, that'd be fantastic to know more
Yeah,
about because I don't want to say anything much about it, and it's not to say that they shouldn't be paid attention. It's just I didn't get a chance to say
yeah,
to
yeah,
know more. I got a lot of good footage out of it, but I didn't get enough to. I didn't talk to anybody to get context for
yeah.
it. But so going back to through all that, so there's kind of the four protests, but between the two, I met this interesting Swedish gentleman, and I know he's Swedish, and I got his name. If we go back to the archives, I believe his name is Claude or Klaus or something. Who was he had quite a few opinions after the whole altercation thing, and that's kind of the first time he talked to me once or twice before, briefly as I was filming, but I was talking to Patriot Smoothie, so uh, very difficult to really pay attention because Patriot Smoothie was quite insistent on what he wanted to discuss at the time, and that was fine. Um, we did communicate before that, and we communicated after too. Um, but then he just, he discussed quite a bit after, after the altercation. He's like, oh, he was quite insistent about a whole bunch of things, and he's, had opinions because he just came back from Sweden, and all these things wouldn't happen in Sweden, and I'm like, okay, so you're a little bit passionate about these things. All right, I get it. You're kind of the anti-vax stuff. I understand. That's fine. No, 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 no.
Well,
This
the
rabbit
pharaohs
hole.
are
I did
coming.
not realize I was discussing something with somebody. No, 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 no. I was on the precipice of a fucking deep rabbit hole with this guy and his friend.
So
And
Biggs is what is this?
oh yeah, no, absolutely.
He was going to report Dina to the Swiss embassy for reasons.
Yes, yeah. He was quite adamant on reporting you to the Swiss embassy for
I
I'm not
missed
sure
that part.
what.
Maybe I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
laughing too hard at the comments.
It was this was before we went off to the discussion to so yeah,
Let's
he
see.
was quite adamant like I'm going to report her to the Swedish embassy, and I don't know if I'm a logical person and that's just my nature, but I'm
I
like
hope they deport me to Sweden. I'd like to go on vacation for free.
Sweden would be nice to visit, sure. I'm sure they have probably have really nice jails too, and it might
Nice.
be kind of nice, but I had no idea where he was going with this one, but I didn't quite realize how crazy the statement was until I put it into context with the side trip.
That was funny.
Holy crap! So this is when we just he said, "Oh no, we're going to show you evidence." I'm like, "All right, you're going to show me evidence?" Yeah, yeah, right over here. I'm like, "All right."
Somebody said that you'd be taken by puppies.
Yeah, no, yeah, no.
that
So chat's
that one like pushed me over the edge.
well, yeah. As I'm walking there, and so as we're going over there, I'm starting to get him to discuss. It's like, yeah, you're gonna record and all this stuff. I'm like, all right, that's cool. And so he starts discussing. He starts telling me this whole thing, and it's Agenda 2030 is where this whole is the title of this whole conspiracy that they're trying to discuss. And apparently it's the elite pharaohs.
Yes.
Yes, I
You
said
know
that.
why do you know why he's reporting me to the Swedish embassy?
Egyptian in past.
I'm Egyptian
I was about
now.
to say, you were a secret
So,
pharaoh.
so I'm the pharaoh who's coming back. So I'm just
Hey,
saying.
it's quite possible you're one of the secret pharaohs, and he probably knew it, and that's it. He's got to get you reported.
I'm the Sphinx.
There- Exactly. I'll get remind him the next time I see him if he's got questions about him. Like, listen, she's Egyptian. She's probably a
Yeah,
pharaoh. Don't mess with her, man. Just don't.
I got claws like the Sphinx.
Yeah.
Ask Brian.
Oh, that's for sure. So they brought me over there, and then I'm like, all right. So what are evidence you guys? And then they start pointing out saying, and they're looking at the numbers, and they're
Look
like,
at
look,
the
everything's in
bench.
threes.
The
Yeah, the
bench.
benches. It's like, look, it's always 3, 4, and 3, and I'm like, well, that one's 3, and that one's 3, but that one's 5. And they're looking at it, it's like, okay, well, all right, and like that threw them
You
completely
ruined
off.
it, Joe. You
Sorry,
ruined it. You
sorry,
ruined it.
I did, I
Yeah.
totally ruined it. It's my fault. I recognize that I completely ruined the entire story. But what am I supposed to do? So
Your own research.
apparently, my own research was in contradiction to their own research, and that's where we kind of had a problem. So but I didn't. I wanted to question them a little bit, but not too much, because I wanted to just let them sort of tell me the whole
Yeah,
story. So
see, tell me. Yeah.
it was, oh yes, and they asked me if I was recording, and I wasn't lying. I wasn't recording. I was just live streaming, and
But it's recorded.
it's only recorded after the fact, but
Yeah, sure.
so
But why did they want to keep it a secret? Is this top secret? Like as if they haven't pulled everybody aside that they possibly could to show them what they know. Like who do
this is
you
apparently, I'm not sure what the whole thing about that was in regards to why they want to keep it secret. I don't know if they were afraid that the pharaohs are going to come and find them and stop them. Um, my only thing that was kind of curious about it, because and I kind of talked about this before. I kind of talked to them a little bit about this. That might have caught in the stream. Is like he says, yeah, it's Agenda 2030. It was originally 2025, but they had some scheduling problems, so now it's Agenda 2030. I'm like, okay, well now that you might actually add some realism to it, because nothing's ever done on time. So
scheduling problems?
I'm not sure if like they're all there
The almighty pharaohs messed
can't
up their
project
dates.
manage.
Yeah, yeah,
They
no.
can't work project management,
Yeah.
which kind of actually it kind of buys some credibility is the way I look at it. Like they can't get shit on time. All right, I can see that. You got
Oh.
my attention for realism here, because everything else just everything else is just sounds ridiculous. The world, these guys want to kill off half the world. They want to take over all the businesses. They want to take over this. I'm like, all right, none of that makes sense.
No, not especially when it comes to pharaohs. Pharaohs needed people to build their pyramids. You think that they're going to kill their population off? Like that's not even going to work. You need
I'm
more people to pay taxes into the coffers. Like none of this makes any sense.
no, it's I'm not even sure where all these stories come from in regards to where they're originating from, because obviously they're these guys have some sort of origin to the
Well,
whole
even
story,
with
but
this stupid like vaccine is the reason why they're wiping us all out. Well, then they won't have the money that they need to like we are the worker bees. We are the ones who work so that the top 1% can
mhm,
get richer and richer and richer. And
yeah,
the more of us that are doing their shit grunt work and being part of their machine, the more money they make. So none of their theories make any sense at all.
no,
So
no, none whatsoever. To which I look at this and I'm just like, I'm not sure what you guys are trying to do here in regards to all this, but yeah, it was some pretty crazy stuff. I'm just like,
they're starting a cult is what they were trying to do, and they're trying to get as many people in as possible, and then next thing you know you'll be lying there drinking some potion with brand new running shoes on, and you won't wake up in the morning. So that's
oh
where
yeah,
they're at. He wanted to report Deana because she brought Camilla to a protest and it was irresponsible and dangerous.
That was what he said. That's true.
I have no idea. I missed a bunch of a bunch of the chat, but maybe that's who they're talking about. But they're
They
unvaxxed, so
that they are talking about the Swedish gentleman because I remember he was again. It's in the VOD, the recording I wasn't recording at the time.
I missed that. Maybe I don't know why I missed that. That's so
It's
funny.
it's before the rabbit hole, so
Yeah,
it's right after your instance, and before the rabbit hole.
it's
So it's
possible. It's possible you were sitting on my counter while I was doing dishes, and I missed that part while the water was running.
it's
Try to
quite possible. I mean,
multitask.
he was quite adamant to tell me the whole thing. And it was interesting because I mean, Patriot Smoothie was trying to like, no, no, relax, don't get the embassy involved.
Everybody, calm down.
Yeah, and
Don't
I
get
think
the
I mean I
involved.
think to Smoothie's credit, I think he was also like I'm not even sure about this embassy this embassy calling him in like I but let's just not call him, okay, let's just not call him. It's just yeah, this just seemed
That's
a little bit weird.
hilarious. So these are the people that they hang around with, like these people who are, and it's cool. Like everybody, I mean, at the end of the day,
It
it ties
is.
in with certain issues or whatever. But this is that's the point I was making. They cast their net so wide that in order to get the numbers, they've just got everybody in there and the kitchen sink of conspiracy theories. And and I think what they end up doing is they just set it aside and they're just okay with it. Like, with Mimi or Francine or whatever you
Yeah.
want to call her.
Hmm.
I mean, they're these guys aren't like most of them aren't believing that crazy rabbit hole she tried to take me into in my messenger that I ended up posting it on
Yeah.
Facebook when she did this. Like that's like hardcore deep into the weeds of conspiracy theories and she's there. But I mean, bring them all in. We're all anti-vaccine. It doesn't matter how far down the rabbit hole you are.
Hmm.
Just numbers, 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 and yeah, it's super interesting to
It's absolutely
see
yeah, it
that.
is absolutely interesting because I mean, it's one of those things I've been sort of it's just sort of going through, and actually we'll talk about it after. But
Okay.
it's goes to the topic of these guys are committed to this cause, but
Super committed. Like,
it's what they're willing to sacrifice principle
yeah,
wise for this cause.
yeah.
So I think the other question we need to go into is the altercation.
Oh, the altercation.
The altercation. So let me bring this up for because I'm sure as many people may or may not have seen this. I think you should be seeing it.
Before you play it, I
Mhm.
just want to let everybody know this is the second time Brian has done this. So exactly in the same way as you're going to see him rip the phone, the gimbal, whatever, out of my hand or try to.
Mhm.
He did the same, and there were people with me, so it was nighttime across the street from St. Bridget's, and him and I had gotten into it because he was arguing. Okay, this is the same day that he stupidly got served the documents for the hearing from the bailiff, and then he went and like tried to hand it to me first, and then Sam ended up taking it. And then
Right.
later he walked back and tried to like schmooze his way to get the documents back, but by then it was too late.
Yeah.
But
Sam ran right off with it.
yeah, in his kiss ass sort of way, he's like trying to get in and be, oh, you guys are, I like you guys, blah, blah, blah. And then he starts getting into the whole, I guess, mandate or whatever, and just first he starts calling COVID a hoax. And do you even know anybody who died of COVID? So that's when I told him my father died of COVID. And then he went on to say, oh, well, did he have any comorbidities? And that's when I told him he was a fucking douche to shut the fuck up. Because at the end of the day, if somebody has diabetes and they're crossing the street and he hits them with his truck, were they going to die anyway because they had diabetes? Like that's not even how you look at it. Then he asked me how old he was. So at that point, I was just like, and the police were there,
Yeah.
just chilling in their cars or whatever. And so I yelled at him and I told him to fuck right off. And then I started to kind of walk away. Then he starts fighting, and I can't remember if it was him and Sam that were yelling or him and Andy, but he was yelling at somebody. So I put up my sign, not like they do,
Hmm.
wasn't right in his face, but it was like right between them. So he starts to sneakily walk and he rips it out of my hands. And so I grabbed him and I put him in a headlock. And then I'm trying to rip my sign out at the same time, and I couldn't do both. So I've got him like this, and that's when Sam came around and ripped the sign out of his hand, and that's when I let him go
Right.
and said, whatever. So so him coming by, I was pretty much, I didn't think he was going to do it, but I'm ready for someone to try to rip something out of my hand. So you can go ahead and play it. I just wanted to show you guys, like,
Yeah.
this is who Brian is. And that was him trying to say, I let go 2 assaults from you. No, you stole my property twice and I got my property back twice,
Yeah.
is what
So
happened.
there's a couple of points I'm gonna sort of highlight here. So there was a bit of so I got a chance to sort of look back over this video. There is a bit of a build up here, and I didn't get a chance to actually clip it
Yeah.
together well. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit manually on the fly here. I apologize, kids. I was not as prepared as I could have been. So
Why
didn't
is
you vote?
using an untested drug better?
No party that
So
really
why do
wants
we let the vaccine industry
what's
profit
the point of all
without
this for
being
you?
I don't
accountable?
hear it.
trying to
It
advocate
doesn't matter.
for
The
better
world economic
He's
forum
talking
is
most of the
trying
time
to
anyway.
better public policy
The
position.
drivers
you're
of
not
this
voting,
nightmare are the banking cartel
then you've got no
and
say in the
technocracy
conversation.
that wants one world
You
government,
literally
a
voted
cashless
yourself out of the
society,
conversation.
a track
I do vote
trace
federally.
culture where you will own nothing
Okay.
and be happy. The Great Reset.
So
book
you're
by
talking about
the
provincially,
World
you didn't
Economic
vote, but
Forum
So is this where
federally,
Phil is going to start trying to put that sign in my face? I think he was doing that at that
But
point.
not voting for him is a vote for Doug Ford.
You guys protested.
If you didn't vote for anybody, you voted for the winner.
And I'm yelling at him. We don't hear it, but I feel like this is where I kept telling him, "You're still talking. You're still talking."
Sorry?
I feel like this is where I was yelling at him. He's still talking because he
It
kept
was.
pushing the
So,
sign in my face. Yeah.
yeah, it was a little bit longer than I wanted to go. So that was the first person that was going with the sign and come on. You guys can hear
Yeah.
well on the channel, right?
Can they hear? Can you guys hear the video? Oh, actually, hold on. I can tell you.
Well, considering they're saying Smoothie won't shut up, yeah, I think they can hear it.
Okay.
Uh, so I want to get to the second point here, so as you can see here, as I point to the screen and nobody else can see what I'm pointing to, right over here you can see they're putting signs and they're blocking. Um, to which Dina's being a little aggressive in regards to piss off. I don't know who this guy is though.
Which guy?
The one with the sign.
That's Phil.
That's
That's
Phil?
the guy who was trying to sell the fake bonds at Tupac.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting. I wonder if the securities exchange has gone to go talk to him or not. Because there's a whole legal thing in regards to that.
Not 100% sure, but that's Phil. I was surprised to see him. I was even saying, "Hey, there's Phil."
It's true.
But,
And then once we get him out of the way, we got your
well,
little,
Camilla shows me where to go, and this girl's trying to box me out, but I play basketball, so
as we see right here.
no foul. No foul.
And most of all, an
I
attack
believe that
on our
the scale and
children for
magnitude
their
of it was
injustice view.
overblown. Once they got power, they couldn't
Last
resist.
week's video by
I think there's
Canadian
And this is
tremendous
where we got
Carl.
Carl.
Carl's in the face.
And you know what the thing is? Traditionally, the left has been extremely opposed to corporatism. But all of a sudden,
CBC guy wants to get this altercation.
Hang on, stop Carl. He's gonna find us.
Phil takes him out of the way. Phil's like, "No, you've gone a step too far."
Yeah. Yeah. So Carl was doing the Carl was being Carl there.
Yeah.
Because it's not the first time he's been always putting something towards you.
It's not even towards me. He was sticking it on my hand on my phone. Like he was pushing it into me, and I'm not sure
Yeah,
if you guys could see that or not. You'll see it in my live.
I think yeah, you're live more clearly for sure.
Yes.
But
Oh
actually,
no, I have to move my phone out of the way. That's right.
yeah,
So,
it is one of those things that this has actually got the most angles, so
but unfortunately, the cameraman walks right in front as I grab the
it's
like
okay. If we go
he's
take a
in
look at
the,
Patriot Smoothies, we'll get the continued angle.
oh cool.
This is the most interesting thing because there's actually three angles to the whole thing. There's mine,
Nice.
there's Patriot Smoothies, and there's yours.
Oh, I need to see Patriot smoothies. Oh, goody.
It's a little bit
I
of a
haven't
challenge,
looked
but
at that
yeah,
one.
we could
Okay.
probably take a look in regards to seeing what there is there. So that's a number two. So I mean, at this point, two people try to block you, and then we get up to
Three
as
people. That lady tried to box me out when
yeah.
Camilla was telling me.
So I don't know if you noticed this, but at this point, I'm looking around from from a certain angle. You got this person who's just focused on filming you. You got this person focused on filming you. There's actually
Yeah,
some
yeah.
more on the other side too, focused on filming
Yeah.
you. I'm like, everybody's filming you. I'm like, you gotta feel like you got paparazzi at this point, because
Well, that's
damn,
exactly how it was at the church. I
yeah,
don't even care. I don't even. I'm filming too, so it doesn't matter to me. Like
oh yeah,
I,
no, no, absolutely. I'm sure I got filmed a couple of times too, as the
yeah.
weird guy, as I usually am.
So
So
they didn't like that I was smushing the sign that was pushed into my face.
yeah, so this gentleman here he's the one that runs this
That's
particular.
Howard.
That's Howard. That's correct.
Howard.
He's the one that's now got a special interest in you. Uh,
He was smiling at me to
yeah,
me at first when I first got there.
it was. Now, and then we get to to Bucci's about to cut, but we now get to dear old our friend Brian.
The same thing independent media does. Get individual donations.
Come over here. Where are you, Ken?
and dispute our claims.
Camilla. Camilla's like, I pushed him when I was trying to get your phone. She said, I think that's why he let you go. I'm like, I think so too, Camilla. She didn't see the face grab until pictures later. But yeah, nope. She thought she pushed him off of me.
And there we have it.
Yep.
So how was the phone?
The phone is broken, and so I'll have to pay like 129 bucks or whatever to get it repaired. It maybe there's a scuff on the back. So the first screen repair is usually free, but if there's a damage to the back of your phone, then you have to pay to get it repaired. So I'll go do that, and then I'll either get retribution when he's charged or whatever, or convicted if he is, or I'll sue him in small claims court, or both. Doesn't matter to me. It's very unlikely that you get retribution. You have to ask for it, but I don't. I don't know. The
The
police are
charge, yeah,
the police are in control of everything in
yeah. The
terms of
charge,
whether they lay charges and whether another court, I think, is the retribution part.
so the charge may occur, may not occur, but the small claims,
Yes.
I don't see any issue getting that.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got
for sure.
clear evidence
Yeah.
there. So
It's funny that he went on my Facebook to tell us that he didn't do that, that he didn't even touch me, he said.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, yeah, there's a whole, and then he ended up drunk Facebooking and just like, I think
Yeah,
what
that
he was
got
trying to do,
awkward.
yeah, yeah, and it was just like 5 or 6 messages at 2 o'clock in the morning from him. I woke up and I'm like, I look at the time, it says 5 hours earlier. It's okay, whatever, buddy. So yeah, it was his birthday that day that I scratched his face.
It was. It was.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, it was. Just just remember, like getting a little bit of Brian out of there.
Yeah, well, there was, yeah, I just needed to pick that out. It's my
Yeah.
ring finger.
But
No, I mean, at the end of the day, don't take my shit. Don't touch my stuff. Don't come near my daughter. Whatever the case may be. I don't want to be violent, but I will 100% defend my person and my property, and of course, my family or friends.
Hmm.
I, I mean, there should be basic rules that all of us follow. That's the problem with the convoy people, is that they want rules for themselves, or they don't want rules at all for themselves. But the minute you start to behave the way that they behave, then it becomes a problem. And so that's sort of the proving point of all of this, is that like even during the convoy, walking around, which I watched one of, I thought I had put them all up on my YouTube, but I haven't. So I will put them up. But I was going through one of my longer videos, 98 minutes. And so I'm walking around. I got a couple of different reactions. One was, oh, it's okay. When they see me with my sign, and I'm like, what? Oh, it's okay that you're here. And I'm like, oh, great. Thanks for giving me permission to walk on my streets in my city
Yeah.
protesting too. And you're going to say it's okay for me. Like that happened a couple of
Thank
times.
you. Yeah. Thank you for giving
Yeah.
me permission of.
Yeah. Like, oh, it's okay that you're here. It's like, fuck you. It's not okay that you're here. So go get lost. And then the other ones would be, just total, anger and vitriol or whatever, and making comments and stuff and whatever. I don't even care. Sorry, my dog's wanting to go outside. Just one sec.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
And oh, so, I mean, but yeah, behave the way they behave, and they don't like that very much. That's
No.
not okay.
No.
Um,
No, they don't. Um, it was made pretty clear once we and
yeah,
it's which kind of, I mean, it goes a bit, also a little bit more into what we were discussing a little bit earlier, or just actually before that clip, which was because I'm gonna say something that's not a hot take, but give me a minute to go with it, and then you know I don't think they're all violent, and I don't think
no,
they all seek to
they're
be
not.
violent. But that's kind of a good segue back into that point I was trying to make, which is these guys are passionate about certain specific points or certain specific things that they're protesting.
Yeah,
But there's a certain radicalized sort of view for this, at least, and this is what I'm starting to see as I'm going in there, and I'm hoping to get some. I had a good conversation with Patriot Smoothie to at least to sort of probe and try to get some information, try to understand kind of what he's seeing, and then also when I spoke to the other gentleman to probe and also try to get to understand it. Do you know what? I wouldn't mind actually getting a couple of minutes with the rest of the guys to start to get a better understanding with some of these guys as to, hey, what is it about this that's driving you to this?
see, I've done that already, so I'm over it.
I know, but I'd like to see if I can document it.
Yeah, yeah.
I Oh, we've got a subscriber. Um,
Yay.
so sorry, not a subscriber, but somebody who's following. Um, so thank you. So what I'd like to, I'd like to see if I can get a little bit more. I wouldn't mind seeing if I can turn those a bit into an interview too, if some of these guys are willing to go through it. Well, I'm trying to be
I
a
don't
more.
I don't really want to give them a platform. I mean, unless it's going to be satirical and you keep pushing them in a corner or whatever, but I think they do enough of that on their own, and they do enough of these stupid hot takes and these like documentaries and explanations of their position. And for me, quite frankly, I don't want to hear their position anymore. I've heard it enough. Like they can
Well,
talk, and that's fine, but
yeah,
none of
no, and I agree with you there. And it's not, and that won't be the my goal
it's
there.
like misinformation and disinformation, and then making it up on the way as well.
It's not that I'm looking to try to see if I can get sort of a better picture on it. It's more the people themselves, where they were and what got them there. I mean, this is not the first time, and this is not the first group, and this won't be the
Um,
last. And there's going to be people coming in and out of this movement all the time.
yeah.
And so, kind of understand that. I mean, as I was talking to Smoothie, I was talking to a couple of the other guys. I'm listening to them as they're making their mandates or they're complaining about Trudeau. I'm like, well, what is it that you guys want? And political. they're not politically. They're not saying the conservative talking points. That's where I thought was this got really, really interesting for me. I'm like, wait, what do you mean you're not?
But they don't. They'll still vote for the conservatives, but they won't because they know nothing about politics.
Yeah. Well, some of them don't even flat out
It's
like.
that's not even true though. They do use conservative talking points for sure. They do. They were talking. Candice
Some of
Bergen
the
was
some of
echoing
the
their
highlighted ones, but I mean, Polyev is
like
also
the
not.
crazier ones.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but if you're like if you're talking like some of the talking points like Polyev, I'm like, yeah,
Jesus loves you. Abortion rights, no rights,
yeah,
and transphobia, homophobia. These are all conservative talking points.
they are, and it's they and depending on the people, you'll get this or the depending on some of the different ones, and these are there's a wide, vast variety of them, and it's interesting to to sort of go through that. I think to a certain level, so just to see what it is to you know what is it that got let's say somebody like Carlos from where he was at, he seemed like that happy guy, to get up to this point, or some of the other guys. So
Yeah.
it'd be kind of interesting, I think, to take a look at that. But
I was speaking with Casey,
mhm.
and like I
Which one was
feel
Casey?
like Casey. I
Oh,
had a good conversation with him. It's on my live.
mhm.
He said that he has hypersensitivity.
Yeah,
So he is not quite autistic, but there was, and he didn't even say he was on the spectrum, but he did mention autism. So I'd have to look back at how he described his diagnosis or whatever. But he lost his job. We had a pretty good conversation. I mean, it's very, and then he has a religious take on things too. So when we brought up
yeah,
abortion, I said there's nothing in the Bible that speaks about abortion. He says, "I knew you before you were in your mother's womb." I said, "Well, what about the verse that says life begins at the first breath?"
mhm.
And so if life begins at first breath, then it doesn't matter who God knew and when he knew them. It doesn't mean that this is a live person, whatever. If you want to use the religion as your doctrine
Yeah,
for making all of your life choices.
yeah.
And so I don't know. I think there's many similar things that bring them back together. Sorry, my dog is now
I want to
wanting
come
to
back in.
come in. But anyway, in the end, having said all of that, it to me it doesn't change the fact that they have filled their brain with a lot of misinformation,
Mhm.
and they don't care enough to actually follow up on the sources that they have. They're good enough getting somebody's word for it. They're good enough reading a headline and a couple of sentences from an article, because I'll read the same article. All of this stuff, like I said, this is very personal to me. Like I had a family member who would send me all of this shit, and I would read it and then I would comment on it.
Mhm.
So all these articles that they try to point to, the difference between, like when they say, "Oh, you're only getting MSM whatever," and it's like, no, I'm not. Actually, I'm reading your shit and I'm reading the real shit, and you're not reading the other stuff.
Yeah,
They are only reading and barely reading. Their attention span is so small. Like, I'm surprised Daisy was able to sit through the 10 hours of hearing today, right?
yeah,
um and like,
yeah.
I'm seeing his comments from yesterday, which I'd like to make a comment on one of those.
Which comment was it?
He put yesterday's what is it called, summary of what we've learned in the inquiry, and one of the things that we learned from the city administration, or whatever, the city manager, sorry, is that Ottawa was safe, and all of the streets, they were comfortable because all of the streets had a space for emergency vehicles to go through.
Now we got some
Now,
images
yes.
to
So the
discuss on.
pictures that I sent, so what I was when I was watching my 98-minute video,
Hmm.
what I was doing in this video is I was recording everybody's license plate and walking through the streets. That was the first probably hour and a half of me being there that day. And so if you, I don't know if you can make it bigger, Joe, but what you'll see here are just snapshots from my videos. So sometimes you're going to see my volume button or my phone
Yeah.
button. Okay, so this is one street. So I'm walking up Kent Street is what I'm doing. And
Yes,
right
that's
here
Kent,
you
and
can
that's
see,
yeah.
yeah, you can see the three cars
Hmm.
or whatever, how they're parked. Nobody's there. So there is no, this is from sidewalk to sidewalk. There is no way any emergency vehicles can go through, but the other pictures are better.
Yeah.
If you go next, you can blow that guy up a little bit.
Yeah. So you can see here, there's a vehicle here, vehicle here, vehicle here. This is, I'm looking
This
here.
is, I think this is Queen.
I was about to say Queen.
Yeah, this is Queen. And so what they were doing is they had blocked off both sides. So behind me, there's it's full, and then in front of me, you'll see another picture. And then they were playing hockey in the intersection.
Hmm.
That's what you're seeing there. So definitely no emergency vehicles could have gone through that street. The next one is again where these are all parked vehicles. Yeah. So there's no way that any emergency vehicle is going to, and actually I should check the date of that video. So then the next one, you're going to see even more funny.
Hmm.
The truck is actually off of its wheels. The next picture, Joe.
Or seriously?
It's actually, you'll see, not that one. Keep going. Another one. These are all okay. Maybe that, no, not that one. But you can see the trucks are all there. Nobody's going anywhere. Nope. No. Sorry, maybe it's near the end. These are all, yeah, blocked off, blocked off, blocked off. Look at the snow. I want you guys to pay attention. This is, so as an able-bodied person, walking through this was difficult. And in my video, you're going to hear me go, woo, a bunch of times because my feet almost went out from, and I was dragging. You'll hear my feet the entire time, except for when you hear the horns, the entire time, because it's not even there. No. Must have been one of the beginning ones. Anyway, one of the trucks right in the center, it's probably where they were playing hockey, had those claw things that come out and was just planted there. So anyway, so I think based on this evidence that either the city manager perjured themselves, because I know for a fact, being a witness there and providing the video evidence. So all of these videos that I took, there's a link to it that I've given to Paul Champ right from the beginning, but I thought I had uploaded them and I haven't, so I will upload them. But trigger warning, if you don't like hearing horns, you'll hear a lot of it in most of my videos until we get to the point where there was the injunction. And then after the injunction, I planted myself in the middle of Wellington and Bank Street in that square. And then had many conversations with many of the convoyers. And quite frankly, like, I don't even know. And apparently somebody, I can't remember who it was, messaged me and said that they saw on this guy's film, he came and talked to me. They said, were you the one that was in the square? And I said, yes, because one of these convoyers was such a gaslighting idiot, but I played along, let him blah, blah, blah. And then he posted it on his feed. Some army dude, I can't remember his name.
Not Formosa.
No. This was an Ottawa army dude. Someone might even comment here who it was.
The only army dudes I know, aside from there's Formosa, there's Saxon Murray, James
It's none of
Top,
those guys. It's
none of
none
those
of
guys.
those
Okay.
guys. Yeah, no. Anyway, so here, like, this is it. Like, this
Nope.
is what you,
Mary Lee
and I've
says it
got
was
like,
her.
what's that?
Mary Lee says it was her. I'm
Yes.
assuming commented to you about it.
Oh, yes. Who was the guy that Mary Lee? Who was the guy
War
that?
campaign.
Oh, War Campaign. Okay, she
Oh yeah,
saw me on War Campaign.
yeah. War
So I'll
campaign
have to
is
look for
streaming.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
War campaign's got a lot of footage in general. Who was kind of useful when we were doing the Tupac video because War campaign actually had the first instance of William Comer.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but
That guy was an idiot. Like when Mary Lee brought up, I'm like, yeah, yeah, I remember that guy. And so what he had done is we had talked, and then when I started to speak I feel like it seemed like out of nowhere he just started yelling. Like we were having a normal conversation for the most part.
yeah,
And then it just because a lot of people started to come around, so I guess he felt like he had an audience, and then he just starts bleh, regurgitating this stuff and then walks away, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess our conversation is over.
yeah. He's he from based on what I've heard, I've seen a couple of his videos, but I haven't seen that enough to really sort of make a sense. But he sounds to me a bit like a Steve Crowder, where he'll just sort of like shock and or Steve Crowder or what's his name, Ben Shapiro, where they're just like blast
Oh
blast blast
God.
blast blast blast, and they'll
Yeah.
just run and run and run and run and gallop. That's you can't get anything edgewise, and
And
because
then
they're
their
on the gallop.
stupid followers are like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I thought we wanted to hear both sides, which
Hmm.
the other, yeah. And then, anyway, and then they
Yeah.
were saying that there was no violence. Meanwhile, we have all this footage of the reporters and stuff. Well, let me tell you, in the Charter of Freedom, i-
Well,
it's, it's, well, there's two things. The ones that I posted today on Twitter in response to some stupid lady was two reporters getting assaulted, and then there was the one I think you're going to play, which is Tim Abray. And so Tim Abray is just a guy who wanted to see what was happening in his neighborhood with his phone. And so remember, convoy people, freedom of the press. And this is a citizen journalist because he took out his phone. And whenever you take out your phone and start filming, you can now describe yourself as a what is it? A
citizen
citizen
journalism.
journalist. Yeah. Or a citizen reporter. But let's see how he was treated.
Imagine this. You're an ordinary Ottoman walking through your neighborhood park. You see some members of the truck convoy encamped there and you try to take some pictures. That's when you're attacked.
I was just an average citizen. I'm a guy in my mid 50s. I've got a kid who goes to the high school right next door. All I did was raise a camera, and I was attacked by several people, and nothing was done.
Abray, a former communications consultant, lives here, the Triangle, a neighborhood right next to the Rideau Canal.
So yeah, I mean it's something that if the convo comes back, something if I go back into there to if I go into there to start filming those and probably be tempted to be, I'm gonna have to be careful.
Yeah.
And it's this is it's this is proof right there in regards to no there was violence. um, I can't volume myself any higher than I am. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to get a
Aw.
better microphone. It is on the list of things to do, which is to increase. There is
This
a
is just a
list.
practice. This is a practice run, but we're also talking about stuff today too,
It's true.
right?
Yeah, I am going to. Yeah, don't worry, kids. Things are coming. There's a whole list. But anyways, so yes, they yeah, there was more than one violent incident, but I mean, this one's kind of interesting and kind of good because it's actually filmed, and I recall a couple of them that actually occurred that was also on film too, and I know you've
Yes.
got a couple of them on there. I could see if I can dig one or two up. Um, but yeah, it's very much so the same thing in regards to you know, they're
Well,
trying to, they didn't see violence, therefore there was no violence. And I'm sure there was no violence that they saw the entire, some of these guys didn't see any violence the
no,
entire time
it
they were
was,
there.
well, they were watching all their propaganda. Like I made a
Hmm.
point when this was all going on to go on their hashtags and Twitter and stuff like that. And it was like all you saw was joy and hugging and loving and all this other stuff, which, yeah, that stuff happened. Very, very forced, sort of ridiculous, um, very drunk Canada Day behavior,
Hmm.
like 24/7. And like the well, I mean, we know like the whole hot tub bullshit, the bouncy castle bullshit, and they continue to use bouncy castle as if it's some sort of trademark for convoy people. Like it's just ridiculous. And
But it is. There's nothing wrong with them associating themselves to be a bouncy castle, because that's not really a look you want anyways, because there's
well,
not, that means you're running a children's playground.
well,
But um,
the
just be
fireworks,
yeah, just
like,
because you had bouncy castles in a hot tub doesn't mean you weren't being a public nuisance in regards to noise violations, in regards to
oh,
detrimental noise amounts. Doesn't mean that violent occurrences didn't occur, as we saw in the video, and there's many other videos that showed that too. Doesn't mean any of this other stuff wasn't true. Doesn't mean you guys weren't blocking streets. They were.
yeah.
There's
Well,
a
that
lot of proof
thread
that
that
still
was
can be
on
covered.
Twitter with Amanda,
Hmm.
and she even has the one where they've got that jerk on the four-wheeler. Like that was happening on the first day. That's how I knew I needed to get the hell out of there with my daughter when that was going on, because it was way too loud and
Yeah.
my daughter has tinnitus. So no, like let's just get out of here.
Yeah.
But um and that noise that was continuous, but they were doing that, and then they were cheering them, like they knew that they were behaving badly. This is the point, is that they're trying to say we were peaceful, everything was fine, we didn't hurt anybody, but they knew 100%. Like it, when you watch my videos that I'm going
Hmm.
to post, when they saw me walking with the sign, of course they got triggered, and then so you'll hear like a whole thing of horns going off, and they're like in, like as if it's in your face, and
Right.
it's, you're not making your point. You guys are trying to protest that you don't want the vaccine mandate, and so you don't want the vaccine mandate, and anybody who disagrees with you, you are going to blast them away.
Yeah.
Like, they're so full of shit, and they know they're full of shit, and then they just want to keep harping. And so one of the things I've been watching the hearings now. I've caught up for the most part. I did not see October 14th yet, and I really want to see that because Zeshi Lee was on the stand. I didn't see that yet, so I will.
Yeah.
Today was a freaking doozy. Um, and I don't know, is this the time we could talk about it? Is
Absolutely.
that okay?
So,
So
finishing off the Saturday, we can now move over to who wants to
yeah.
talk about POEC?
Well, okay. So yesterday and today was a lot of drama, the Ottawa drama. And
Yes.
so we heard from Jim Watson and we heard from Diane Deans. And um, I'm glad that I have a better sense of what, because we all know that there's a rift between Jim Watson and Diane Deans. And quite frankly, Jim Watson is a petulant child. And what pissed me off about that when it was happening at the time,
Hmm.
the bullshit that was happening, and nothing moving along, um wasn't so much because I thought that they were getting in the way of any progress. Of course, all hands on deck, we need to, everybody needs to be working together.
Right.
At the end of the day, there weren't enough police officers. I think Jim Watson, in my opinion of what happened, is Jim Watson was trying to come out of this somehow a hero or something. Because why else are you going to keep information? Or he knew that Councillor Deans was running for mayor, and with his scores to settle, as she put it, he's trying to find a way to discredit her. All of that shit doesn't fucking matter. And this is what pisses me off, is that this is clearly a distraction. It was a distraction when it was happening. It has nothing to do with any of this. And then today, we're going to listen. So this guy here is part of the piece. How do you, what's the, I should have rewound it. And he's basically the advocate for people's rights, I think. Is that just, can you, hold on a second. Let me do this for a sec. Anyway, my beef is that today's hearing, or a part of the hear, or whatever it is, inquiry, today's testimony and the questioning was all catered around the rift between Diane Deans and Jim Watson, as if any of that fucking matters. And what we need to stay focused on, actually, we'll let him ask the question. I'll let you play it and he can ask the question. I've got to listen to, though. So go ahead.
But this time, the crisis was mishandled by police at all levels of government, wasn't it?
I think we could have done better.
Thank you very much. Those are my questions.
Okay, thank you.
So, I think that's a summation that's shared by a lot of people in Ottawa, which is everybody fucked up.
Okay, everybody fucked up, but let's not forget who the real culprits are.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's the convoy people, period. They organized it. They had all this funding. They weren't, we know based on the testimony that we are hearing up until now, and it will continue that way, that they had no fucking plan on leaving. So by law, okay, in now we have hindsight. So we were all pissed off that they weren't getting tickets. Well, there weren't enough of them to, like, enough police for them to get tickets. And yeah, they would have, like, look what happened when they had rows and rows of police officers and horses, like Mounties and stuff. Did that fucking move these people? No. They stood right there. Hold the line. No amount of ticketing these friggin' assholes would have mattered. No amount of placing little one here under arrest would have mattered. It would have set off, whatever else. So in my opinion, the only answer was to have a coordinated effort with the 1,800 police officers. It didn't matter if it came as an emergency order or not. The fact that they're trying to turn around and say that the rights, this is what irks me the most, is that these people who are lawyers on behalf of our human rights and government, our infringement on our human rights, have got to remember that they are representing each and every one of us. Right now, the convoy people are in front of them, but I am one of the people they are representing. And if these pieces of shit infringe on our rights, as they were, people couldn't go grocery shopping, couldn't get their basic needs. People couldn't hear when they're blind so that they can maneuver through this, whatever. Their human rights were infringed on. So when these people are representing, they need to represent all of us, and they do not get to give these assholes a pass, because nobody wants that kind of society, not even them. What is happening? Nobody wants that in their. I went and heckled at their protest. They don't want themselves at their protests, right? We all agree we don't want a society like that. So there has to be a point where, when these people are, they have to not try to scapegoat. They don't get to say Diane Deans and Jim Watson were the reason why this whole thing failed. Like it's all the point, like pointing fingers bullshit.
So I can't speak for others. I know for me, the number one obviously is the convites being there, and that's. But to me, that's just. Thank you for a new follower. For me, that's just the reality of like, yes, that one's just grounded reality. That's we're good with that. What I have a but so understanding these guys were the fault and the cause of the whole thing to come down. Um, at least my understanding in regards to the POEC, where is the POEC has only got one question, which was what led to the Emergency Act to being called. So it'll never really be the convites that comes up to this because it's going to be sort of questions like, okay, we have this situation. This situation was bad. No disagreement there.
There is a disagreement there. The convoy people are trying to say that it wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
They
but guess
and
what?
some of the other lawyers are even saying, "Oh, well, there was no violence." And then the fucking city manager's like, "Not that I'm aware of." You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
Like, what a fucking idiot.
but
Get
they're all
out of your fucking cushy seat and walk the streets like I did, and you're going to see that the streets were blocked. Stop looking at your fucking CCTV
yeah.
cameras.
Not disagreeing with you on that at all. I just not one to disagree. Um, but this is still sort of less about the convites and more about why was the Emergency Act needed and what because obviously they want to sort of do a digestion about the Emergency Act coming in and being used. Um, what can be done? I mean, some of the questions are going to be looking at is like,
No,
could this
but
have been
if
done
you
without it?
watch
No.
today was more of a TV show trial. Like at
Yeah.
first they were being a little bit more,
The reality is
you
that the
know,
entire
the
thing is
only
going to be.
person, yeah, there was there's this lady, and I feel like I'm gonna find out. I I did identify what lawyer she was. One
Mhm.
second.
I think there's the one from the government of
So
Canada. If there's.
it was no. The government of Canada guy doesn't know how to do his hair, which is fine. I'm not body shaming, but it's funny to that he made me laugh. Um,
I thought
he
they had
can
a
look
lady
like
too.
that if he wants. It
I can't speak on
was
hair.
Angry Lady is Slowly's counsel. Okay, so yeah, so Slowly's counsel, she was quite animated today and grumpy.
Hmm.
And then the convoy lawyer is a show trial lawyer. He tries to, yeah, the one for October 13th, the first one, I had watched that late, but all he was doing was asking leading questions and asking questions that don't belong to that particular witness because all he was trying to do was make a statement through questions that couldn't be substantiated. So that was really annoying because he was trying to tell a story about what happened at the convoy to a witness who couldn't, like I said, that wasn't their, you know, it wasn't there. It was Canalacos, I believe. So he answering questions that didn't pertain to him, that were not relevant to him. So I found that to be annoying. But today he did ask a couple of good questions to Counselor Dean, so I was pleasantly surprised, and he wasn't as show trially as he was normally. But you know, for his other questions, I just found that he's just trying to make a point and not actually trying to get answers about you know what I mean? Like they're all defending a different thing, and it's not about fact finding, although I have to give it to the witnesses, even Jim Watson, the way that they're handling the questions and responding. Except for we did find out that Jim was lying today with Counselor Deans's recording. But at the end of the day, we're going to learn a lot about what really happened behind the scenes. But I feel like we're not. I mean, I guess this is part of teasing out the commission, and you're going to find out some other stuff. I can't wait for like those losers, Tom Marazzo and Tamara Leach, to get on the stand. I don't think they're going to answer the questions truthfully, but I think we'll be able to catch them in a few.
Yeah. I don't think between the beginning and the end of this inquiry is going to have much change in regards to the issues that was with the convoy, in regards to them coming in. I don't think much is going to come from this. As much as stuff is going to be coming out, I don't think much is going to be changing. This is still just an inquiry. There's not really anything that's going to be. I'd be surprised if much comes out of it.
No, but we are going to learn more about what
this is very
the
public.
Intelligence knew, and so that's what we're learning right now. So if today we were able to see some documents. I mean, even in Kanalakos' testimony, but there were documents that could have been, or information that could have been shared without breaching the operations versus manage or versus governance model. It was clear, it seems like I don't even know why anybody is so surprised. Maybe Peter Slowly needs to get a thesaurus for his Christmas present or something, but the fact that he turns around and says there is no policing solution and then doesn't qualify that statement, and everybody's just like, I dedicated an entire fucking poem to him because he said those words.
Yeah. And you're right to be upset about that, and it's also we should be upset about people who are around him that could have said, "Hey, can you clarify what the hell you mean by that?"
Yeah.
Like if he turned around and said, "There is no policing solution with the resources I have right now."
Right.
Okay, I got you. 100%, totally agree with you. You don't have enough of police officers. 110%.
Just fucking say that.
That's all you need to say. Explain that.
There is no policing solution. Well, then what are we doing? What are we doing
here?
Do we all have to bear arms and run into the street? What's the solution?
Yeah, we just drop the city, and that's it. We all move collectively, we're all going to be living somewhere else. No, it's.
It almost seemed like he was on their side too. It's like, nah, we can't do anything.
Yeah, it's like, all right. Tell us what you. Yeah, it's.
And I'm not the chief of police. Maybe doesn't need to be a good communicator. I feel like he does. I mean,
I don't mind if the chief of police.
Part of it is that the board was asking for a lifeline. Tell us what you need. Tell us specifically what you need. And it's I need more resources. Okay, let's
be a straight shooter. Tell me what you need. If you're a terrible communicator, just be a straight shooter then.
What does resources mean? How many people do you just fucking say something.
Say what you need. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Say what you need. Come out and say, I need more police. Cool. I need more
well, he did, but he needs to they needed a number.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then he said he had a plan, and then now we're finding out that he didn't totally have a plan. And then the province, let's not forget about the province.
Oh yeah.
Province purposely not being part of any of the tri-party consultation, whatever it is, meetings that they were supposed to be having. Yeah. And I don't care if Doug Ford stood beside them and said, I stand by the Prime Minister's decision. That too little too late. You what the hell? We needed firm, anyway, there's more testimony to come, so I should wait to really comment on that. But so far, what we're hearing is that the province, I guess that was Jim Watson's testimony. Maybe I need to take that with a grain of salt for now because I don't trust him anymore. So
yeah.
Well,
I'm going to call right now, the PUC. It's going to be a lot of finger pointing back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see, and hopefully, at least one of the lawyers is going to do a good picture in regards to.
Ford's daughter was at the convoy. All right.
Are we shocked?
I
think, it's not surprising.
Not in Ottawa? Was she in Ottawa, or was she in Windsor or Coots, or where the hell was she?
She might have been in Windsor or not Coots. She would have been in Windsor maybe. But we're going to see that there's a failure in regards to enforcement being able to do whether resources, whether from the city, whatnot. Emergencies Act was going to be shown that it's going to be justified because
Ottawa. She
loss
was anonymous.
enforcement was not handling the situation and wasn't either whether it be capable or resources or whatnot, they were not able to respond to the situation
Mm-hmm.
to contain it and move it the way it was supposed to be, or deal with it the way with the resources they had. The Emergencies Act sort of snapped open, removed the barriers, got them the resources they need, and that was it. Um, People will continue to complain about all sorts of suspended civil rights. I'm like, no, no, no. I know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Quebec. I'm an old guy from Quebec. We remember the FLQ crisis quite clearly when the War Measures Act was there. That was suspension of civil rights. That's when soldiers were in the streets. That's when people could be arrested for 2 days without any reason or cause for arrest.
Yeah.
And it happened. That's why you got Emergency Act, because that one was far more extreme.
Well, and
this is light.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, where did I just see it? Yeah, Purple, Mavis. I remember Ford saying to the media, and I remember this too. Thanks for reminding me. The mayor has my number. He can call if he needs help. I remember that.
Did he have your number to your fucking cottage?
Yeah, exactly. And isn't it funny? Yeah. And then Councillor Dean's like didn't even have Jim Watson's number. He gave it to everybody else, but not giving it to her. Like what a total douchebag dink. Like I'm so over him. But I also, when we're under new management, I really hope that our whoever was in charge of our emergency response or whatever, and their reports back to the city manager, or if it's the city manager, saying that our roads were clear and everything was safe, no problem. Those pictures that I showed you were only a couple of streets. Like I said, I have hours and hours of video of me walking through the streets, and there are streets where it's all three. So there's 4 lanes, but they took up the 4 lanes with 3 rows of trucks. From one block to the other block. Like it was full on. So if any of those buildings would catch on fire, that means the fire department only has one corner to be able to put out the flames or take care of. Like, give me a break. And fires are quick. It's not like you have, all this time to be able to, move your truck, okay, and then they're going to start moving out of the way. Like, fuck off.
You ask any firefighter or ambulance driver, seconds matter.
Well, they do.
Seconds make a huge difference.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I happened to be at a building of mine, and the fire alarm went off. And I just happened to be there with my staff. So I'm like, I'm going to go just check. So I walk up the stairs and then walk through the hallway. And sure enough, I see smoke billowing out of a unit. And the guy comes out and he's all discombobulated or whatever. And he fell asleep and a fire started. And he's like, should I leave? Because he didn't know if he should walk back in. I'm like, yeah, you leave. And I took out the dry can from the emergency thing. And I put out the fire. And I had enough time. I couldn't see a damn thing. It's not like I saw a little fire and I put it out. I put my head in, and it was complete black, smoke everywhere. And so I'm trying to reach for the light. I swore it was on this side, couldn't find it, reach this way. And then I go the other way. And as I looked again, all I saw were the red flames coming from the kitchen. So I just took the can and just turned and did this, and then got out of there, hoping that I did. I wasn't even looking. I couldn't see. It was black.
Yeah.
And then I realized that, my people aren't leaving from the building because nobody leaves when the fire alarm goes off.
Yeah.
So I decided to just bang on everybody's door, walked up the 2 other flights of stairs and said, get the hell out of here. This is a real fire. Didn't say hell, but I'm like, this is real. It's not a drill. Get out. By the time I came downstairs,
PA system.
We didn't have one then. Now we do. Now we do.
Good plan.
But so I got downstairs right as the fire department came, and I was able to tell them where to go right away, which was great. And then they even said who's the one who used the dry can. But it was literally like the fire alarm went off, and I only had to walk up one flight of stairs, and the whole place was like the entire apartment was damaged. So
Yeah.
it does take seconds.
Oh yeah.
So that's one apartment. And we're talking about these, 25-story high buildings that
Well, hopefully they're
are
concrete. Yeah, they're hopefully they're concrete
fireworks
units.
are bouncing off of them.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I remember saying to this, because I was just like, you guys are fucking idiots. And this one girl comes running after me because she sees I'm filming with her and her stupid friend. I'm holding my sign. And I'm like, you guys, like, why are we terrorists? I'm like, look what you're doing. You're setting off fireworks. And she's like, well, you do it on Canada Day. I'm like, Canada Day is over the water behind the Parliament building, not between residential buildings, not between government buildings. Like,
And it only
and
lasts
where
about
all these 18-wheelers are and fucking
yeah.
gas.
It's also very sort of limited in regards to it's in a small contained area, as in like behind Parliament over water. It's also for a
Even
short
those
time
ones
period.
that are done in parks, like
Yeah.
it's away from power lines. It's away from
But
like
it also lasts about 15, 20 minutes, and then it's over, and then everybody goes home, and they go to sleep. And that's it. You're done. Not like these where these guys are firing it off at all times of the day and all times of the night. Um, in obviously also there's in within the streets as we saw the videos where they're
where
firing
all
off
their
within
tanks
the
are and all of
buildings.
their jerry cans are and all of their propane tanks are. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
just the most ridiculous. And I need to explain to you that this is not a good idea.
Oh yeah.
Like
It's so it's going to there was a gas leak in my neighborhood not too long ago, about 2 years back, and it was a bad one. It covered sort of like the entire neighborhood, and they had to shut down everything. And you figured people understanding natural gas, combustible, be careful, kind of avoid it, be smart. So when you're walking around, you get close about 100 feet from this, seeing this gas thing because everybody got kicked out of their houses, and you see that, and you were watching the neighbors like, yeah, this gas leak's pretty bad. Should be careful.
yeah.
And you're watching the neighbor, and he's like, dude, why are you lighting a cigarette beside the goddamn natural gas leak?
You smell that?
What?
Yeah.
And he wasn't the only one. Like a whole bunch of them at different times. I'm like, are are you damaged? Like, like, do you not smell the gas? Like, I'm surprised we didn't all die.
I mean, but to have that many dumb people like you're describing all in one space is a problem. This
It
is where it
is.
becomes
It is.
a problem.
This is another detriment of condensed housing. Too many dumb people also are crammed in there
Well, I'm
with the
talking
smart
about the
people.
convoy. Like they
Oh yeah, yeah.
purposely all decided to come together
Oh yeah.
into
That's a
Ottawa.
pure level of dumb, but still, this is where you've refined it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's you know what I'll because I'll get yelled at for saying dumb. Um,
Why?
there's a refined level of anti-science that's been put in there, and so you'll get all sorts of things like hey, we'll fire fireworks in the middle of the city amongst the skyscrapers where they're firing out and hitting the sides of the buildings and possibly
Yeah.
damaging and causing
Bouncing
additional problems.
100%.
Yeah,
Bouncing off of them. Yeah.
there's a lot bouncing off, and if one of them cracked the window and got in there and started a fire, none of the trucks can get to it. Um,
Oh,
the second thing, as you point out, if the fireworks goes up and comes back down and goes into the entire fuel depot, that could be a problem. Um, it still requires certain conditions because you need to have a certain ignition point for diesel. But are you going to play that? Like, you gonna play that sort of game? It's just all sorts of crazy, stupid shit like that. Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing, guys? Like,
But they know they know what they're doing is wrong. Hey, Ina put up and she was able to get a link on there.
mhm.
The 847 mark clearly shows the roadway blocked from the sidewalk to sidewalk with no emergency lanes.
All right, let's see what we can.
The good thing, so this guy did his documentary or whatever, but I don't know that we have timestamps on them. But at least my videos, I know what days they are, and it's like, so I can say each day that I was there, the date, and that they were blocked. So yeah, 847 is where.
847.
Yeah.
That's not Ottawa. That looks like Coots.
I just got word that
There's
Nugs
Ottawa
is.
right there. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Look how far it goes too. This is not just one block. It's block
Yeah.
after block after block after block.
Yeah, this is a
Yeah.
drone flight for sure. But it's, and you're looking at it, it's.
And how does the city only use CCTVs to find out what their roads look like when, give me a break, we're Ottawa, we don't have drone technology that we could be, that the police could be using or
Yeah.
that the city manager could be using. Oh, I
So
walked down Metcalf and there was only a few cars there. Give me a break, buddy.
yeah.
Look at this. Look at this.
So yeah, they're quite packed in there, and it's and there was discussions in there too that they wanted to be packing up Wellington Street because that's the street they wanted to have the maximum effect on. Um, to which I'm like, go nuts.
Can I make a comment about, because they brought this up today,
Mhm.
about how all these people were on the highway bridges and whatever. So here's my take on this. Yes, because Canadians do love farmers. Canadians do love truckers.
Mhm.
And when they put out the notice that this was going to be a trucker convoy, people came out, most people, I think, came out in support of truckers, thinking that they were supporting truckers during the pandemic and the work that they had done. This is my feeling. And there might have been some misinformation about the fact that truckers
James Top
didn't like the vaccine mandate, when the majority of truckers believed in the vaccine because the majority of them were vaccinated. So it wasn't even an issue.
Yeah.
For them. So I think when they think that they had all of this support, they did, but on a different premise.
Mhm.
And then when the public started to find out what the organizers really, like, they fucked up large. These people probably could have done a lot better if they weren't so fucking stupid and bold, thinking that people are going to agree with them to overthrow the government. That's fucking ridiculous. And then the murder plots, the weapons charges and the weapons that they found. There was even the fucking flooding of the 911
Yeah.
in Ottawa, the bomb threat to Chio, the threats to the doctors and nurses at the Ottawa hospitals, the threats of murder to journalists, counselors, the mayor. Like,
That's still
don't
going
tell
on.
me this is not violent. What the fuck do you think death threats are? Do you think because nobody actually executed the death threat that's not violent? 100% that's violence.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. It's when it comes to, I mean, these guys, they did intimidate. They did come to do that, and it's one of the concerns that concerns me a little bit in regards to I so we're going to be watching POEC. We're going to be watching POEC for till what, beginning of November, I think is when the statements are coming in. I think that's the date of when the interviews are going on for the public order the emergencies inquiry. Um, but this is going to be done at some point. The questions are going to be done, and everything's going to get quiet. Everybody's going to be debating sort of the results of what's going to happen. The right's going to come
February
saying
20th is when the report comes out.
Exactly. So the questioning's going to be finishing around November. Between November and February, we're going to be seeing all sorts of crazy things what the results are. Most people are going to be going, all right, well, they're going to compile the reports, be handed out, because that's what these things are. They're Privy Council reports.
Yeah.
While, while, the right's going to go crazy going, oh, they're going to have this big scandalous report. It's going to be, it's going to call Justin Trudeau the big criminal, and then they're going to get disappointed, and they're going to move their goalposts when the inquiry report comes out and nothing occurs. It's either going to be a whole, a whole thing of like, oh, see, we're being robbed, they're being denied, the whole thing's a lie, etc., etc., or they're going to say, or basically they're going to write another version of a victory for them. That aside, and we're going to see that pretty much end at the end of February, they're going to be still trying to go with something else. There's going to be another something. Even the post-pandemic, they've got the taste of this kind of activity. Some of these people are going to go home, and that's it. There's going to be these groups that are not going to want to go home. They're going to want to keep going with this. We're seeing this right now. I mean,
yeah, but they're fractured now. Like I'm not sure that they're going to be able to build this momentum again. I think people want to stay away from this, and rightly so. They should want to stay away from this.
They're going to kind of avoid and dodge it for now, for sure. They're kind of fractured because, and we've seen this in regards
because they're violent extremists. People don't want to associate with violent extremists.
But I'm talking about, like, there's a bunch of groups that make up this movement. Like, you've got groups like Stand for Thee, you had a group like Tupac, you had groups like Veterans for Freedom, you've got groups like the new one, not the new one, but the one by Kellyanne Wolf, which is Canada Democracy Defense Association. We could sit here and list all night all the different groups. And there's a fair amount of infighting. Like Stand for Thee doesn't get along with Tom Marazzo. Veterans for Freedom didn't get along with Tupac. Like, there's a bunch of these little groups, which kind of really kills the momentum. The more they kind of fight amongst each other, but they'll get together, or one of them will fire up these protests. They'll do some protesting in Toronto. They'll do some protesting in Ottawa. We've seen a little bit. There's none scheduled this weekend except for the standard Ottawa ones, which is like the Fringe Fridays and
they're not going to get
Saturdays.
I don't think they're going to get. So let me, from my point of view,
Saturday, I think. I don't know.
Sedition Saturday. When I first watched their conferences, like those stupid organizers when they had their YouTube conferences where they were doing their fucking press releases and stuff. Mm-hmm. At first I was like, oh my God. Like, okay, so I'm not going to take away that they weren't well organized and all this other stuff, but I was just like, they gave off an impression that they were much more intelligent than they were.
Sure.
And now that we've had a chance to hear them speak a lot, like Tom Marazzo is the biggest pussy I've ever seen in my life. That guy is such a fucking fragile white Jordan Peterson, but military style. Like, he's just, I had higher hopes for where he was at as a intelligent sort of whatever, but then watching, like, thank you, Mayor McCheese, for playing his stupid shit. But the fact that he reads some plagiarized poem and like the way he presents himself, it's just like, no, you've lost that whole whatever you had to you. Mm-hmm. Now you're just a moron. who gets up in front of a podium and says stupid shit. So I have no, like, to me, he's whatever. He's nothing
Yeah.
now. Bowder, Chris, whatever, who's
Oh,
James
James
Bowder
Bowder.
and
James Bowder. Yeah.
Chris Barber. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard them talk enough now that I'm just like, these guys are fucking idiots. And Ron Clark, and like, they're all, and so they are going to have a following because there are lots of stupid idiots who will believe whatever they say. But when they had that major momentum at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
that involved many other people who could sort of empathize for their position, or again wanted to support truckers or farmers,
Yeah.
because we all agree that, you know, truckers played a very essential role in us getting everything from our food to our medication to our vaccines.
Yeah.
You know, they were pivotal. Farmers, this, you know, people who worked in processing plants, they were the hardest hit. Brampton was like, that's where all of our factories are and stuff like that. Man, did they ever get it bad, because they weren't being protected and they
Yep.
continued to work even though COVID was happening. Like grocery store people, we all know this. But then when you turn around and you become violent or you impede our food, medicine, vaccines, billions of dollars worth of trade, well, see ya. Canadians don't do that. We don't. That's not what we want.
And that's fair.
Um, and
But
for just because you don't want an ouchie,
nope,
like,
that's fair.
we're
But
not talking about protecting, you know, pristine, our fresh water, our lakes. This, the fact that people like these guys try to align themselves with the plight and the fight for what is right for the Indigenous people and the rest of us, because we all know Indigenous people are the ones who are protecting our water, are protecting our lands, putting themselves at risk for it. And so, yeah, when I see this inquiry and they refer back to the War Measures Act and those tactics that they used on Indigenous people protecting their Indigenous land, it has nothing to do with how these people, the convoy people, were treated because they don't want to wear a fucking mask
yeah.
or they don't want to get a vaccine. Go
11
fuck
o'clock. Your
yourselves.
final thought.
My final thought. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Oh yeah, wait. But if I have one thing to say, somebody sent me a message and I'd like to get it out.
Sure.
Nugs is speaking at the Citizen Convoy Commission.
Excellent.
Can't remember what it's called. That's in brackets. Tomorrow morning, according to her TikTok. Do we have time to watch her TikTok? I
Well,
don't
if
know.
it's tomorrow morning.
Shh. No, her
Uh,
TikTok is now. Or was
oh,
it? Wait, it's tomorrow afternoon and evening.
okay.
It was alive, but I can't find it anymore. Okay, so it's
TikTok lives don't seem to save. So,
okay. So Ottawa People's Commission (OPC)
mhm.
on the convoy occupation, and it's from 2 to 4:15.
I'm glad to hear that she's gonna be able to get to speak out, because I know she wanted to speak out at one of these commissions and she was being denied. She was pretty significant in regards to having seen and been personally affected by the convoy. So it's quite nice for them to actually be able to go and speak to them,
Yeah.
speak at these events.
Okay. Well,
Sorry, they them.
I'll be staying tuned. It's also Brian Dirkson's pre-trial tomorrow.
He's got a Zoom call about that tomorrow night, which I'm sure he's going to try to use for fundraising.
Yeah.
Um,
That's all I have to say.
Excellent.
That's it
In
for
that
me.
case, yeah, I'll be so to follow up. I'll be again live streaming on Saturday. I might do a quick live stream on Friday night. It's going
What's
to be
happening
told.
Saturday?
Uh, I, I need to do once a week, so
Okay.
Saturday's my
Okay.
day.
Okay.
So I need to get that to go once a week just to
Okay.
get there. There's no particular events in Ottawa that's playing on Saturday, so I'm probably going to be taking a little tour around. We might get lucky. There might be another protest going on, kind of like the Iran and Sri Lanka. Who knows what we might come across. It's also giving me a chance to do some equipment testing. Friday night, I'm going to do a small live stream, but it's going to be kind of boring. It's just, I'm testing out the equipment, trying to see if I can get it to work correctly with Streamlabs. I had some issues during that, so if you guys want to tune in, great. If I get enough people, it might pop up the Twitch to actually get it to the next level. Um, and aside from that, that's what I have here. I don't know if Deana, what else you want to say?
Yeah, I don't have anything. I'm just gonna keep watching the inquiry, or try to. And I'll probably be at court tomorrow, sitting in the courtroom where Brian Dirksen is. And
Okay? What time is his trial at?
I don't know. I think it's 9 o'clock. I'll be there regardless for 9 o'clock. I'll drop
Okay.
Camilla off
If you
and I'll
had
go
some
sit there.
time, I would have paid to get you to manicurist just to get some beautiful long nails.
I'll just do this in front of him.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Just sit there and but just keep eye contact as you're cleaning them. It's just sharpening them and
I'll
cleaning
be
them.
behind him. He's probably going to be like up there or whatever. I don't know if he
Oh,
can join by Zoom. I'm not 100% sure how it's going to work, but I have other stuff to do at the courthouse for our other stuff. So
yes,
I'll be
perfect.
there anyway. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. In that case, I'll sign off for all of us.
Okay.
And
Good night, everybody.
good night, everybody. We'll probably see about having something else next week again, possibly the same day. If not, I'll definitely let you guys know, and Deana will let you know as to what's going on next. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I think we're off. I can't hear you. I can't hear. Oh, no, it's not you. It's just the system. So if you can hear me, great. But yeah, I can't hear you at all. You can still hear me. Excellent. So the live stream can still hear me.